You are listening to the Thriving Empire podcast with Stephanie Holland, episode 22. Welcome to the Thriving Empire podcast, where it's all about stabilizing the roller coaster of starting up so that you can launch your ideas with more passion, purpose, and vision. I'm your host, strategist, traveler, and coconut macaroon addict, Stephanie Holland. So let's get started. Buenos dias. I haven't spoken Spanish on this podcast for ages, so ¿qué pasa? What's happening? I'm actually in the Oaxacan mountains escaping the Semana Santa crowd. Easter is the most important celebration in the Latin American calendar, and they really know how to celebrate it. And by that, I mean they really know how to party. So I've swapped out the fiesta sounds for birdsong in a little lodge that I love to come to. It is so lovely. So, big question today. Are you ready to bulletproof your ideas? So let's talk movies for a moment as a segue into this topic. Have you watched any good films lately? Because last week I watched an incredible film called The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. Now, inspired by a science book, 13-year-old William Kamkwamba builds a wind turbine to save his Malawian village from famine. But he also has to overcome being suspended by his school because his family don't have money for the school fees. He has to figure out how to still get access to the library so he can do the research he needs to do to build the turbine. He has to get his friends to stay in the village and persuade them to stay and help him. And he also has to persuade his dad to lend him his bike that he won't get back because he's going to use all the parts. And really, in terms of persuading his dad that the idea is really going to work before he's able to bring his vision to life. So he has to overcome so much to do this thing. But in short, he has a driving force so powerful that his ideas were going to manifest through him no matter what. He had the qualities within him required to bring his vision to life no matter what. And there are these two qualities, or rather elements, that I want to talk you through today as a way of bulletproofing his ideas, because it's such a powerful approach to accomplishing anything you set out to accomplish. It really is the secret sauce and a big yes to the question, are you willing to stay in the game until you get the results that you're looking for? Now, William answered a big hell yes to that question in the movie. And by the way, it's a true story, so check it out on Netflix. Now, this episode about bulletproofing your ideas is really about building on the last two episodes, where in episode 20, we talked about how to use your income goal to fuel your personal freedom right now, and episode 21, where we talked about empowering yourself with a crystal clear vision of your life and living the closest to it to whatever degree possible you can right now. Because once you have these two things in place, you have your point of power. And at that point, then you can shift into bulletproof mindset. So there are two elements to add to the bulletproof mindset recipe, so to speak. The first is your impact, and the second is your legacy. So I want to kick off with a quote from one of my favorite British philosophers. He's called James Allen. He said this, "Let a man radically alter his thoughts and he will be astonished at the rapid transformation it will effect in the material conditions in his life. Men imagine that thought can be kept secret, but it cannot. It rapidly crystallizes into habit, and habit solidifies into circumstances." Now, this is so interesting because what you're building throughout this section of the podcast is really an arsenal of thoughts and a way of thinking that's conducive to staying in the game until you get the results you're looking for. So by focusing on the vision of the life that you really want and all of its component parts and exactly how much that will cost you, you're actually creating a new currency for thinking right there. And your thinking is really the currency to your success and whatever you envision success is for you. And by adding another two thought factors to this mix, impact and legacy, you're actually shifting into full throttle against your vision. So impact and legacy, what they do is they add a giant dose of authenticity to what you're doing, both for you and for the world. Because here's the thing, if money and your own personal gain are the only reasons for you wanting to start a business, it will be very obvious and your audience will see right through it. It will really permeate all layers of your business, including your sales and marketing, your content and communications, and the experience of your products and services that your audience and your customers have. And it will also likely leaving you feeling flat. especially if you crave purpose and meaning as well. Because, even when you achieve your financial goals that we talked about in episode 21, it won't be enough if it doesn't align with your passion, purpose, and vision as well. So money and personal gain are powerful reasons for you to start in the first place. Absolutely. And, that's right. And we need these things as the catalyst to start something new and really have the courage to lean into our zone of massive discomfort, because it's the first stepping stone on our adventure into business and entrepreneurship and really living and working on our own terms. That is great. But unless your business or your startup is something that you really love and arouses powerful emotion within you that you can sustain regardless of the ups and downs and wins and losses, your personal goals alone might not be enough to sustain either you or your business in the midterm or the long term. Now, this is where I have to emphasize at this point in the episode, you don't have to want to start a charity or a nonprofit. Okay, and in fact, those sectors are in desperate need of a revolution anyway, because their impact rarely matches the potential social impact of a for-profit with a social DNA. So I'm not talking about you having to have full-on humanitarian save the earth reasons for starting up, and your impact and legacy doesn't have to be about that. But at the very least, if it's just about making life easier, a little healthier, a little happier for other people, and embedding, the passion, purpose, and vision you have for this kind of level of impact in the world into the bedrock of your business strategy and personal approach, then likely you're going to stay in the game until you get the results you're looking for, because you're driven by something so much more than just the stuff you want to have in your life. So let's look at impact and legacy in detail, because they each are slightly different. So let's talk about legacy first. Let's talk about impact first. Impact is having a strong effect on someone or something. Okay, that's the actual definition in the dictionary. But I think of it as knowing very clearly what you want to create or change in the world. So here are some amazing examples of impact goals. I've chosen my 3 favorites for you. The first is Tammy Tibbetts. She's the founder of She's the First, and she's in business to create a first-generation graduates and our next generation of global leaders. Now, Mark Holtzman, he's a globally recognized yoga teacher and the founder of Guerrilla Yogi in Paris, and he's in business to inspire people to fall in love with their lives. And the third example is Liz Falken-Bohannon, who's the founder of Seiko Designs, and she's in business to empower and educate women in East Africa. So these are the kind of sort of large, grand, emotive motivators that sustain successful entrepreneurs as they grow their businesses. But remember, of course, they are grand visions, but each started small, with a small idea, with one person, one step at a time. So Tammy Tibbetts wanted to create one global leader. Mark Holtzman wanted to make one person fall in love with their life. And Liz Falken-Bohannon wanted to empower and educate one woman in East Africa and then take it from there. So, what do you want to change in the world? So imagine, who is the person you want to help, and what one thing do you want to help them achieve? Now, the answer to this question is your brand, message, and strategy. So it's a really powerful exercise to do. So many people get so confused with what brand is, but all it is this. It's how people feel when they come into contact with you, your products and services at every single touch point. And the message you share about what you do and why is your brand strategy. So that's really cool, huh? So in worksheet 4.3, I share a neat exercise that enables you to weave your why for you and your why for the world in a really simple way into the way that you're working right now. So you can grab your copy of the podcast study pack at stephanieholland.co/22. It's a really unique and simple way to start understanding and developing your brand. So let's move on to talk about legacy. Legacy, the definition is a thing handed down by a predecessor. So I really see this as envisioning how the world is different because you were here. So what are you leaving behind for the next generation, or your children, or your friends' children, or their children? And it really answers the question, how is the world different because I was here? So once you know what impact you want to have, what effect you want to have, how does that leave the world for generations to come? How does that forever alter the way people feel, think, or behave? So really you're asking, what are the results of my impact? What is the impact of my impact? So how is the world different? To use the examples above, how is the world different because of an entire generation of global female leaders? How is the world different because everyone is in love with their lives? How is the world different because you empowered and educated every woman in Africa? Now think about that. That is enormous. That is wow. So do you know the answer for your business, for your projects, your ideas, and your offerings? Now, in the podcast study pack, I have 8 killer questions that will guide you to articulate your own legacy. Because when we dive deep into legacy, we explore the driving force behind our life, our art, and our business. It's really the essence that permeates everything we do. It's really the thing that we will keep doing long beyond hitting our financial goals and living our dream lifestyle. And it's what keeps those billionaire entrepreneurs working till their dying day. So impact and legacy, right? This was a really amazing episode for me to create for you, because I'm always so excited to talk about impact and legacy. They have been such powerful fuel for my own dreams and my own work, and especially for living and working on my own terms. And I really hope they fuel yours, your dreams, your ideas, your business in a more powerful way too. So go ahead and crack open the worksheet 4.3 in the podcast study pack. If you don't have a copy, you can grab yours at stephanieholland.co/22. It contains a ton of cool stuff that I don't share anywhere else. So have fun with these questions, okay? They're going to set you on an amazing trajectory if you let them. So have a beautiful week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.